So I ended up spending a lot of the last video talking about how I came to start Morphblade, and I haven't really talked about the design as much as I planned to. I also forgot to mention its name until the last few seconds. It is a hex grid where each hex has a different weapon on it, and they're actually not weapons, they're kind of like forms that you take on. So you're a kind of like shape-shifting robot type thing, and each hex defines the form you'll be in when you go there. And as you move between the hexes, you morph between them, and that's the Morphblade thing. One of them's called Blade. And when you kill with them, they sort of progress towards leveling up. But I've now implemented the upgrade system I was talking about I was saying I might do in the last video, where when they level up, instead of just getting better, you choose from one of the adjacent hexes to kind of plug into it, and it gets some of the benefits of that hex, like some of the properties of it. And in some cases that's semi-generic, like if you use a repair tile to upgrade a hex, then it almost always just causes that hex to repair you after you do something. So if you level up the hammer and it's next to a repair hex, then you use the repair hex to upgrade it. Then every time you kill with that hammer, it will heal you. So it becomes like a vampiric hammer. And I've just added teleporters, and if you upgrade a teleporter with a repair hex, every time you teleport it heals you. But then some of them are more unique to the particular combination. So for example, if you upgrade a hammer with blades, hammer is a weapon that attacks directly ahead without you moving. Blades is a weapon that attacks to either side and you do move. And if you upgrade a hammer with blades, then the hammer still just attacks ahead, but to the enemies on either side it knocks them back, which is like a blade attack pattern but with a hammer type effect, because hammer has a lot of knockback related things. And then when you upgrade something else with a hammer, it will usually be something to do with knockback, like if you upgrade a teleporter with a hammer, it knocks back everyone around you when you arrive. If you upgrade a teleporter with blades, you can just kill people by teleporting into them, because you're sharp. So that is it felt like a really ambitious thing to do, and it's actually not been too bad. So first thing I did was with the 3 hex types I already had, I made them all able to upgrade each other. And that is 9 upgrades if you do the maths. So because each one can be upgraded not just with the other 2, but also with itself. And that's a unique upgrade too. So there is, like, each thing can still just get better at doing its own job. If you upgrade a hammer with a hammer, instead of just killing the first enemy in front of you, if there's a queue of enemies, it kills them all in a kind of ripple. And if you attack like an armoured enemy that you can't kill, it knocks them back further. So I did that, and the question is, like, I want to do 6 hex types, and if 6 hex types can all upgrade each other, that's 36 different upgrades. And that's just from an implementation point of view. From a balance point of view, not only is there 36 different upgrades, but all of them can be stacked. Like, every tile can not just have 6 different type of upgrades, but it can have all 6, or it can have 5 of them, or it can have 4 of them. And, you know, for every combination it's got to be, what if it has a repair and a hammer, but it doesn't have blades and it doesn't have a teleport? So that is, it's going to be a mess balance-wise no matter what. But implementation-wise, doing those first 9 upgrades wasn't too bad. Like, sometimes you can just do them in one line of code, like the repair thing, because it's so consistent and so similar on all tiles. It's just one line of code. It's just every time you attack, if this hex has a repair upgrade, regardless of what kind of hex it is, then heal me. Other things take a bit more code, and knocking back has some implications, and there's stuff like, if you upgrade a repair tile with a weapon, then what it does is retaliate when someone attacks you. So as well as healing you, it will also fight back, and if it's a blade it kills one enemy, if it's a hammer it knocks back all enemies. And that causes problems if the enemy who attacks you, let me think about this. There's one problem where the enemy attacks you and gets itself killed during the attack, and the rest of its attack code is still trying to run, and then it can't find itself. Like, it's trying to access its own coordinates to find out where it is, and it's like, well, this object doesn't exist. It's like, you are that object. Yeah, well, it don't exist. And that kind of bug is weird because it looks like it can't happen. Like, how is the code even running if the object doesn't exist? But it can. And then there's another tricky thing where, like, because blades, if you upgrade blades with a hammer, it kind of does the reverse of upgrading hammer with blades. So hammer with blades does a hammer type effect in a blade type pattern. If you upgrade blades with a hammer, it does a blade type effect, killing, in a hammer type pattern, straightforward. So when you move to the tile, it kills things to the sides and to the front. And I hadn't thought about this, but this is the first time that you've been able to kill something and move onto its tile in the same move. And some enemies explode and they destroy the ground beneath their feet. And so you're moving to a tile that doesn't exist anymore. And that's like, wow, that's, A, it crashes the game, and B, I'm not even sure what should happen. Like, should it kill you? It kind of would. If you did that, it would kill you. But then it depends on the order in which those things happen. If you kill the enemy and then try to move their tile, you'd just be unable to. So I don't know. I think I've just made it so you just can't do it. You just you kill the enemy, but you don't move because the tile's gone. So the reason this kind of thing really excites me, it ends up with all these edge cases and difficult little tricky things, but I call it like combinatorial design. It's where you give the player a bunch of elements and then they can combine them however they like. And I love it because it has one of the highest design goals I kind of aspire to, which is once the player understands the concept, the implications blossom in the mind, which is a very fancy way of saying it, but I can't think of a better term for it. It's when you understand the rules and you can see all the possibilities without having to be told what they all are. Like, I can give you examples, and you're not going to extrapolate every actual precise rule, but when I tell you can upgrade any hex type with any other hex type, if you know what hex types are, and if you understand what I said, then you're going to be thinking, oh wait, can I upgrade a hammer with a teleporter? What does that do? Can I upgrade like a repair with blades? How does that work? And you have loads of questions, but it's exciting because there's all these possibilities. And even without knowing the answers, I still get excited about things like, what is upgrade a repair with a teleporter? Like, those two things that don't do any damage, and I can't imagine how they combine. And that's brilliant, and that's it's also consistent and systemic and kind of rules-based. I don't have to tell you all the different rules about what you can upgrade and what you can't, because it's just everything. Everything works with everything, and I've coded every single eventuality that you can do. And I love that stuff. The trade-off a little bit is that just doing 36 upgrade types means I'm not going to make each one super unique. Like, originally I was thinking every combination would be something unique, but then with stuff like repair, anything upgraded with repair should just be it repairs you when you use it. Anything upgraded with teleport right now, the way I've handled that, because that's a very tricky one, but what does a hammer upgraded with a teleport look like? It could teleport surrounding enemies away from you, but there's already a knockback one like that, so that's kind of redundant. And same for blades with teleport, and then I realised what would be really useful is if I was thinking about maybe if it's upgraded with teleport, you can jump over people as you move away from that tile, and I thought, well, it could just be a teleporter, right? The teleporter upgrade just makes it like a teleporter, and then that tile works as a teleporter too. And that sounds kind of overpowered because it's well, now it's just as good as a teleporter, but it's also right next to a teleporter, so that kind of balances out. You just build two teleporters next to each other, which is, in some cases, maybe redundant, but it's also very nice because if you're surrounded by enemies and you can't get to that teleporter, then it's great to be able to teleport wherever you like. So that's just the same for everything you can upgrade with a teleporter, except of course a teleporter, because if you upgrade a teleporter with a teleporter, it has to get better at teleporting, and the way I do that is not only can you teleport anywhere, but it doesn't even take a turn. So yeah, I love that stuff. I get really excited about it. You can see where the crosslink came from for Gunpoint, right? That's a device that lets you combine any two electrical things. And in fact, you can daisy chain them so you can combine all electrical things with all other electrical things. And I just tell you the rules and the components, and you fit them together however you like. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do with Morphblade. I can't call it Hexblade because Hexblade is a class in Dungeons and Dragons. I'm scared of lawsuits. I kind of prefer Morphblade anyway. So the next thing I want to do is I want to do 2 more tile types, obviously, because I've got 4 now and I want to do 6. And my ideas for those are gun, which attacks without you needing to close the distance to the enemy, but I think it won't be able to attack adjacent tiles, because otherwise it's just better than the hammer. The hammer attacks one adjacent tile, gun attacks one tile even if it's not adjacent, the gun would just be better. So I like the idea of like finding a cool spot to stand and then just like mow down a bunch of enemies. Like you shoot that one, another one moves into its place. You shoot that, and then eventually they kind of close in on you, or you win. So that's going to be fun. And the other one I want to do is trap, which is once you've placed a trap tile, you don't need to be there. If an enemy walks onto it, it gets like trapped under a dome, and it has to spend its next turn breaking that dome to get out. So it could just slow it down, but also while it's under the dome on your turn, you can click it to like squish them. So it's kind of like you've got a spider under a glass, and if you like, you can kill it, but if you leave it, the spider will break out of the glass. Which now that I say it, it's terrifying. So that would be like, it's a very indirect way of killing. Like you still directly click on them to make them die, but it's weird because it doesn't matter where you are. But it still takes a turn. So if you're surrounded and there's one over there trapped, like spending a turn to kill that might get you killed over here because it takes time. So still the same penalty of killing it there would be if it was close up, it's just remote. And obviously the advantage of that is that you can kill from crazy distances, and the disadvantage is you don't really get to choose when it happens, you have to rely on just hope an enemy blunders into it. But it's going to be fun to like, that's going to fill a real gap, because right now when you're building your map of hexes, often you've built a couple you want to focus on, the rest you don't really care, you don't really know what you want to put there. And traps would be a great thing to just default to. Just if you don't know, just put a trap there, because it's going to be generally useful. Even if you don't have, when something gets caught by it, you don't have the turn spare to kill it, it still slows it down and you can deal with other stuff in the meantime. So I think that'll be really fun. And then combinations of those, really exciting. So you can play the build with the teleport in right now. I'll put that link in that description, and I'll let you know how I get on with the rest.